what's been the impact of the new tariff regime that was imposed by the Trump administration in this very short term since the 25% tariff was put on Canadian steel and aluminum?
Yeah, well, we lived through it in 2018 and 19 when the first Trump administration imposed steel and aluminum tariffs on our major export, which is steel. And there's been a difference though this term to last term, or to this Trump term to the last Trump term, I should say, because last time during the Trump presidency, there was never talk of annexing us by economic force. There was never talk of crippling the Canadian economy so that we wanted to join the U.S. or that we would willingly be begging the U.S. to take us, which is a real change in rhetoric from the administration in Washington, and it has divided Canadians in the sense, and divided Sueites in the sense that Sioux Ontarians, we are in the somewhat of a unique position in that we are about 5 times larger than our counterparts in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and in terms of population base, and their economy relies on Canadians going over there. I mean, they've got 2 or 3 stores that they've got a Myers and a Walmart and a Hobby Lobby and things of this nature that they could never sustain with their population base, but that is dependent on Canadians going across there and spending Canadian dollars to sustain the retail offerings that they have, right? So they have been reliant on us for generations because we are the bigger of the two communities. So what it has done is caused Canadians to say, I'm going to keep all my dollars on the Canadian side. When I go to the grocery store in Sioux, Ontario, which I never used to do, I used to go in Sioux, Michigan, not myself personally, but this is what Canadians are saying. I'm going to spend on Canadian products at Canadian stores. I'm going to go to Metro and Food Basics instead of Myers and Walmart. And I'm going to ensure that every dollar I spend is spent on this side of the border. An hour from here, there is a place called Mackinac Island, and 2 hours from here, there's a place called Traverse City that are both really popular tourism spots for Canadians, closer than anywhere else in Canada you can get to that have a tourist appeal and a quaint town appeal. Uh, it would be no exaggeration to say anecdotally, I've heard hundreds of people say they're canceling those trips that we regularly take to Mackinac and to Traverse City, and even
Hmm.
further afield into Detroit and into Milwaukee, because Canadians want to keep their dollars at home. So it has put a real strain on the relationship between the two communities. I hope not irreparably. We did see a strain in the relationship during COVID because of the difference in the approach that our government took to responding to COVID versus the American government took to responding to COVID. So there was a strain there that was really starting to be healed and starting to get back to normal. And now it has opened up a new division between our communities. And we're hoping that we can get over it in the near term and start repairing those relationships again. Because for 213 years, we have been each other's closest friends and allies.
Hmm. A lot of us live close to the U.S. border. I'm in Montreal today, and growing up, we spent so much time going across to Vermont or upstate New York, and in Ottawa, we're so close to the border as well. But there are going to be impacts. We're talking about the short term, but there'll be important medium term impacts if the tariffs persist. Can you talk a little bit about the steel and manufacturing sector and what you're seeing and what impact they'll have on the local economy?
Yeah, it's going to have a huge impact. I think that you are going to see, the steel plant in a fairly precarious position. We've had, when the tariffs were implemented in 2018 and 19, the steel plant was just coming out of creditor protection, and so it had a healthy balance sheet. It had the price of steel was better, and so it had a couple of things going for it that allowed it to navigate that storm better than it currently has. And it still cost the steel plant hundreds of millions of dollars in those days for tariffs that were in place for 11 months. And that's when you weren't talking about the potential for stacking tariffs in addition to steel and aluminum. They're talking about economy wide tariffs potentially. They're talking about reciprocal tariffs for everything from the GST to our supply management industry. So it's really an uncertain time. And after the 2018-19 tariff scare and the emergence from creditor protection in and around the same time, the steel plant made the strategic decision to transition from coal-based steelmaking to electricity-based steelmaking. So they went from a blast furnace and are transitioning to an electric arc furnace, but they're only halfway across the river. And by that, I mean metaphorically, not across the
Right.
river into Sioux, Michigan. They're only halfway across the river in that they've got all the old costs of creating steel the coal-based way, and they've got a lot of the new costs of creating steel the electricity-based way. And until they're fully across that river, they are going to be spending not quite double the amount of money, but significantly more to run two operations to make sure that the new way is going to work as it should, and the old way continues to work to supply them the money to build the new processes. And then you add the tariffs on top of that, and it creates this uncertainty and this precariousness that they're facing. So that's why we are lobbying so hard with the federal government and with our communities, alongside our Border Mayors Coalition, to try and get support for industry and support for workers during this time, because it really is a threatened position that we are in.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Futureproofing Canada. There's a lot coming at us these days. Our country faces interconnected challenges, including a new geopolitical world order, economic headwinds, climate change, technological disruptions, shifting demographics, and deepening inequality. Futureproofing Canada brings you conversations with the people who are looking for solutions to these challenges. They envision a Canada that's confident and ready to seize opportunities. If you like what you heard and you'd like to find out more about our work at the IRPP, you can head over to irpp.org. You can subscribe to our newsletters and check out all our latest publications. And if you really, really like what you heard, leave us a review on your podcast app or share your feedback on social media. You can find us on most platforms at IRPP. For the Institute for Research on Public Policy, I'm Jennifer Ditchburn. I'll be back in a couple of weeks with a new episode of Futureproofing Canada.